Good morning. In this video, I'm going to talk a little about the summer assignment for AP Literature. I encourage you, if you have a notebook handy or something to write or type with, you might want to jot a couple notes down about this. I, I typically give a talk to the Honors 10 students in the spring to go over some of this info. Obviously, we're not able to do that in person right now, so I'm hoping this video helps explain some of these. There is a letter that I'm going to send to all students that will outline some of this information, but I want to try to kind of clarify some things with this video. So when I see you on the first day of school next year, I'd like students to have two things with them in their possession. The first thing is a copy of the novel East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I'd like you to read that novel this summer and annotate it. I'll talk more in a minute about what that looks like, but that's the first thing that I need you to have, a read and annotated copy of East of Eden. The second thing I'd like you to have on the first day of school is a two-page reflection paper. The prompt is in the letter that I'm going to send you, but this is basically going to be a double-spaced, typed two-page reflection. It can be 11 or 12-point font, Times New Roman or Arial. 1-inch margins all around. Go to the bottom of the second page and onto the third if you need to. It really should not be 3, 4, 5 pages, but 2.5 pages, that's what we're shooting for. And basically the prompt is going to ask you this. Pick one character in the novel that you feel an intense connection to or you feel intensely different from. So a character you can sympathize with, a character that you see yourself within, or a character that is the total opposite of you, a character you hate. And you're going to basically, in each paragraph, you're going to give me a different reason or a different way that you feel that connection or you feel that kind of distance from. So again, in the letter, the prompt will be written out. You can see it in writing. But those are the two things that I'd like you to have on the first day of school. Typically, in years past, I've asked students to have a third thing, which is just a printout of an article. But I know it's really tricky with access and stuff right now with the pandemic. So this article this article talks about how to annotate and gives some tips on annotating. And I typically ask students to print that article and annotate the article. I'm not going to ask you to bring that in on the first day. I will ask you to read that article because it has some reminders about annotation and just kind of explains what this should look like. But you won't need to print it and have it out or have it with you on the first day. Just a note about printing. If printing that two-page reflection is really hard for you over the summer, feel free to share that with me digitally. Just email that to me. But it will need to be done by the first day of school. So those are the two things, the annotated copy of the book and the two-page reflection. Let me talk a little bit about the annotations. When I flip through your copy of East of Eden, there are some kind of guidelines I'd like you to follow for these annotations. It should be very clear when I flip through that there's been steady engagement throughout the entire text. That it's easy to tell when I look through an annotated book if a student has done this diligently. So how do I know that? How do I look for that? There should be some written comment. It could just be a couple words, a short phrase, a reaction, a question, a summarizing comment, some written comment with actual words on every other page or so. That type of frequency is one that I want you to shoot for. If there's an example here and there where it's 2 pages between comments or 3 pages, that's okay, but that really shouldn't happen that frequently. I want to be able to flip through and see steady engagement throughout the whole novel. Now, with that said, I don't need you to write full sentences. I don't need you to write multi-sentence comments. Sometimes I do that in the margins of texts, but it's pretty rare. Usually the written comments that I do when I annotate, they alternate between reaction, like an emotional reaction to something, like wow, like, you know, shocked by this, or, you know, really, why is this happening, you know, something like that. I do emotional reactions to the text. I do character notes, um, where I say, did same thing to other character, or this happened last chapter, or, you know, this character is fearful, or, you know, notes about the character. Sometimes I do summarizing comments where I put a big bracket around a paragraph and say, you know, setting of blah, 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 or same location as, right? Um, and there are sometimes where I pose questions in the margins if something's confusing. Um, there are times where I identify literary elements. You know, if there's tons of imagery in a section, I might label that. So the written comments can be kind of a variety of types, but those types of comments should be in addition to your symbols and your underlining. So if there's a really important line, or you know, a strange reaction from a character, I might underline that, or put a star there. Um, if something's confusing, you know, I might have a certain symbol to kind of mark that. I know some students prefer to highlight really important lines. That's okay. But I caution you, you know, against. I've seen students who have read the book and then tried to go back and back annotate. Please do not do that. It's really obvious when students do that, and it's not really, you know, addressing what the point of this is. The point of annotating is to stay constantly kind of connected to the text and to be thinking critically as you read. Annotating turns reading from a passive process into a much more active one. So it's hard to annotate and check out and zone out when you're reading a text. Annotating keeps you present as you read. And also, annotating really makes it easy to go back and skim through a text and find things after you've read. So this will be very helpful in the fall when we write about East of Eden. We're going to write an essay about East of Eden in the fall. So I do want you to annotate as you read. I know it slows down the reading process a little bit. The way to tackle this is to chunk this up and split it into parts. It's too long of a text to try to read in 1 week, or 3 days, or, you know, I really recommend splitting it up over a month and a half, the whole summer, however you want to divide it. If you sit down and each reading session you try to do 15 pages, or 20 pages, that's a reasonable kind of goal, and something that you can kind of do throughout the summer. But it's not an assignment that can be done in 1 week. If you do, it will compromise the type of annotating that you can do. So the text is not hard to read. It's a pretty literal, straightforward text, but it is long, and I want to mention that up front, because I don't want you to buy this novel, you know, halfway through August and try to tackle this. It should be split up. Okay. If you have questions about the novel, please reach out to me. But we're shooting to have very clear, kind of steady engagement, visible, you know, throughout the text. The second thing that I'm going to ask you to tackle is the writing assignment. The prompt, like I said, it will be in this letter that I send to you. I'm going to wait to send this stuff out until I see the final forecasting list from counselors. But the letter should be polished writing, or sorry, the reflection should be polished writing. There's no need for an intro, and there's no need for a conclusion. All I want you to do is you read the prompt, and I want you to give me basically body paragraphs that address this prompt. Okay, so each body paragraph is going to focus on a different aspect of this character or yourself where you see overlap. Okay, so you're either going to pick a character that you feel a strong connection to, or a character that you think is the total opposite of you, a character you despise. And there are a couple in this novel that you will probably not like. So pick a character, and each paragraph in your 2-page reflection should basically be a body paragraph. It should it should present in that first sentence what you're going to prove to me. It's going to give me a claim. And so in that first sentence, you might say, one aspect of Lee's character that I really connect with is his ability to listen to the people that he cares about. In the novel, Lee, blah, 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 and then you're going to kind of tell me a little bit about him in the novel. And then there's going to be a chunk of that paragraph where you focus on yourself and you tell me how you also have this ability. And so this writing will feel personal. You will use first person pronouns in this writing. So you'll say I, okay, that's okay in this assignment. But each paragraph will be a body paragraph, and there's no need for quotes in this writing, but I do want you to reference specific details about these characters from the novel. So feel free to mention some specifics from the novel, but no need for specific quotes, if that makes sense. I do want you to read this out loud before you print it to check for errors. Part of the reason I ask you to do this writing is to get a glimpse at where you're at the beginning of the year. When I read through these, I like to sit there with a notebook and make a note of trends that I notice in terms of our writing abilities, so I know what we can focus on as a class. So please make sure this is polished writing. This should be, writing that gives someone a glimpse at your true potential as a writer. I don't want this to be rushed, and I don't want this to be unedited. It should be edited. Okay. In terms of grades for this, for the writing, don't panic. I just am going to give you full credit if you do this as I assign it. If it's less than 2 pages, I'm not going to give you full credit, but if you do 2.5 pages, I'll give you full credit. So don't panic about that. It's just a kind of a sample for me to see where you're at. I want to mention a quick note here about, I brought this up in the other video. If you are a student who feels like this will be very difficult to do based on what you have going on this summer, I have students, for example, who help their families pay bills, and they work multiple jobs in the summer to help pay the electric bill and pay the rent. I have students who have to babysit 3, 4 siblings while parents work, and then at night they work a part-time job. If you're somebody who has a summer schedule like that, I want you to reach out and talk to me. You need to do that before summer break. I want to hear from you if you think that is how your summer will look, because I definitely don't want the summer assignment to be something that makes people not take this class. We will figure out a solution if that's what you're facing. Often, many students don't have that type of summer schedule, and they are able to complete the summer assignment. But if you feel like that applies to you in your individual situation, please talk to me. Okay? Also, please let me know if buying this book is a challenge. I will figure out a solution for you if purchasing the book is difficult for you. So keep that in mind. In AP, there is an expectation that we do buy the novels that we read throughout the year. In the past, I've had students say, hey, that is going to be hard for me financially. I really want to take the class, but I don't think my family and I will be able to purchase these novels. We always can figure out solutions for that, so don't worry about that. But if that applies to you, please let me know. Okay. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me. I would like you all to join our Remind group. There will be details for that included in the letter that I send you. But I'll send out reminders over the summer about the assignment and everything. So I hope everybody's doing well, and can't wait to meet everybody in person next year. See ya.